A very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new episode of Africa Today, our program bringing you all the latest news happening inside the African continent. My name is Angie Meher, and as usual, I'll begin with you with a look at some of the news making the headlines, and we move to the DRC, where the lava that flowed from Mount Nyiragongo on Saturday evening cut a path of destruction through a northern district of Goma, which is in the eastern part of the DRC. UNICEF said that around 500 houses were flattened, adding that more than 100 children are missing after having been separated from their parents. We have more details in this story.
Repeated tremors shocked the Congolese city of Goma on Monday, unnerving families still reeling from a volcano eruption at the weekend that destroyed nearby villages, displaced thousands and killed at least 32 people. Mount Nyiragongo, one of the world's most active and dangerous volcanoes, erupted on Saturday, sending a wall of lava half a mile wide downhill towards the city of 2 million people. The lava flow stopped a few hundred meters short of the city limits, but wrecked 17 villages on the way, got the principal electricity supply and blocked the major road, disrupting aid deliveries. The death toll rose to 32 on Monday, including 7 killed by lava. A string of small earthquakes has since struck the city surrounding the region in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and across the border into Rwanda. One reached a 5.1 magnitude on Monday, according to the Rwanda Seismic Monitor. Shops briefly reopened in Goma on Monday, but many closed again as the tremors grew more severe and residents worried that these could trigger another eruption. Tremors struck every 30 minutes in the city from midday on Sunday. Authorities in Goma urged caution. The UN coordinator said that about 1,000 houses were destroyed and more than 5,000 people displaced by the eruption.
Meanwhile, Ethiopia expressed concern on Monday after the U.S. announced restrictions on economic and security assistance to the country over the prolonged fighting in the northern Tigray region. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Sunday the restrictions were actually meant to push the parties involved to settle the conflict that erupted in November. Thousands have died in the fighting that has pitted Tigray's former ruling party, the Tigray's People Liberation Front, or the TPLF, against the Ethiopian federal government. We have more details in this report.
Ethiopia Foreign Ministry said that it would reassess its relationship with the U.S. in reaction to Washington's decision to impose wide-ranging restrictions on economic and security assistance to Ethiopia over the conflict in the Tigray region. In a statement that the Foreign Ministry called the decision, which also involved visa restrictions on some officials, regrettable. The Ethiopian authorities say they have been engaging with international partners, including the U.S., to improve humanitarian access to the conflict-hit Tigray region. It, however, said it would not negotiate with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the party that used to govern the northern region. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had said that international action was needed to help resolve the crisis and said that those involved had taken no meaningful steps to end hostilities. Thousands of people have been killed and many more displaced since the conflict began 6 months ago. The Ethiopian Foreign Ministry statement also criticized the timing of the U.S. action as the country prepares for elections on June 21st. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is seeking a popular mandate since he came into office in 2018 after his predecessor resigned following mass protests.
And for more news, American President Joe Biden held a phone call with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and exchanged views on the Ethiopian dam, which a new House statement said both leaders agreed to strengthen diplomatic efforts during the coming period in order to reach an agreement that preserves the water and developmental rights for all parties. We have more details in this report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday discussing the latest development on the controversial Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on Monday. Presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi said that both presidents agreed to intensify diplomatic efforts in the coming period to reach an agreement that preserves water and development rights for all parties. Biden affirmed that his country will make efforts to ensure water security for Egypt. The dispute among Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia dates back to May 2011 when Ethiopia started building the dam. Egypt voiced concern over its water share. 3 years later, a series of tripartite talks between the two countries along with Sudan began to reach an agreement while Ethiopia continued the dam constructions. Washington had brokered the tripartite negotiations among the three countries in the presence of President of the World Bank starting from November 6, 2019 until February 27 and 28, 2020. During these rounds of talks, tangible outcomes were agreed on among the three parties concerning the rules and mechanism of operating the dam and filling the process of the reservoir during the drought and prolonged drought. However, an agreement was not sealed. President Sisi and Joe Biden also tackled a number of hot topics on international and regional arenas, including the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and the latest development regarding the Libyan file. Both leaders also tackled the bilateral relations, the statement said, adding that President Biden said that his country is looking forward to enhance the bilateral relations in all fields, particularly in the light of Egypt's pivotal role regionally and internationally.
We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for this afternoon, Dr. Raouf Gaafar, the political analyst. It's a very good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Good afternoon to you, my dear.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. Now, firstly, of course, the American President Biden held a telephone call with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi where they discussed several issues, one of which, of course, was the developments regarding the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Tell us a bit about your expectations. Are you expecting the United States to push ahead and help break up this stalemate with regards to the negotiations?
First of all, before I speak about that, I like to mention, and this is something important, that
yes.
This is the second phone call
yes.
Between the two presidents in less than 3 or 4 days.
Yes.
And that has a big meaning because they normally at this level they don't speak with each other every day. So it is a fact that the first phone call was to discuss the Palestinian issue.
Yes.
Again, this time in less than 3 or 4 days means that America, the United States, value the opinion of the point of view, the vision of our president
yes.
In all the issues regarding the area.
Yes,
so this
indeed.
is important to say.
Yes.
So last yesterday's encounter over the phone was more sort of wide. So they spoke about different things regarding bilateral relations and
yes.
regional issues, among which what you just mentioned about the Renaissance Dam.
Yes.
And we know that there has been, over the last few days, a shift in the position, in my opinion again,
yes.
In the position of the United States regarding this issue. First of all, they were taking a sort of neutral attitude. They did not want to push anybody into anything, particularly Ethiopia. But as things develop in Tigray and in other parts of Ethiopia itself, and the development of the matters after the envoy, American envoy was sent and had a meeting with our president, the Sudanese president, and the Ethiopian president. I think they came up with a conclusion about who is serious and who is not. And
yes.
that is why their new attitude is very much backing the idea of Egypt to reach an agreement that is really compelling to everybody, respecting all the accords and agreements that were signed over the last century, I should say, and fixing the allocation of water and not touching the quantity of water that is supposed to come regardless of anything else.
Absolutely.
So this is a big change in the American position. And I think that, of course, the United States, they have the power, they have not authority, but at least the leverage to push Ethiopia into reaching a just agreement.
Absolutely. Let's, elaborate a bit on that, Dr. Raouf. How effective would an American mediation be? As you said, there is a shift in their stance and their attitude, and they've recently just slapped, sanctions on Addis Ababa over the situation in the Tigray region.
Yes, I mean, the sanctions were, of course, very sort of not very serious sanctions, but again, under the reason of Tigray and what happened in Tigray. But this is only a beginning, which means that we are here, we don't accept what you are doing, and therefore one can expect more sanctions to come and to follow. And this time we hear the sound and the voice of the United States coming high and loud about agreements, about just agreements, about respect of accords and things signed over the last year, long years. And between the lines, we can read that we want this problem to be solved in a matter to keep the interest of everybody concerned.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, that the United States has enough power to enforce whatever point of view they have.
Indeed. Dr. Raouf, let's talk a bit about the international reaction towards the Ethiopian dam file. We've seen nothing really proactive on the part of the EU, which hasn't really shown a stance towards the issue as yet. Do you expect a change in this?
I tell you, it is not declared. Let me rephrase what you just said. The opinion we can feel it is very much pro our point of view, and following the visit of our president to France the other day, we could sense that the position of the French government, official position, is very much backing our point of view. Maybe the European Union, until this minute, they did not officially declare their point of view. Maybe they are waiting to see what the United States will be, how the reaction of the United States will be. Accordingly, they will declare their position. But you can feel, everybody can feel that the majority of the EU countries are for a just settlement of this issue, and a fair agreement has to be reached.
Absolutely.
So I think that it will come very soon, and at least, let me put it that way, again, this is my personal feeling,
yes.
Whatever action Egypt will take, I think if not officially backed by the international community, I should say, and the European community particularly, it will not be objected to.
Right.
That's my opinion.
All right, Doctor, let's talk a bit as well about the African Union's role in the mediation process on the dam. Is the African Union putting enough pressure, in your opinion, for Ethiopia to sit down and wisely negotiate, in your opinion?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this issue, has to be treated within the African Union. All the countries involved are African, and therefore it has to be under the auspices of the African Union. We feel that the leadership of the African Union this year, the Congolese president, has been putting a lot of effort and has been traveling and meeting everybody. And I think that Ethiopia itself is happy or is comfortable, I should say, with the African Union leading the or hosting or whatever the negotiation. But once again, yes, there is an effort in this direction. But again, in my humble opinion, the efforts of the African Union alone might not be enough. It has to have backing of the, of course, the United States, the European community, and the international community as well.
Absolutely.
So, they are moving in the right direction, and I think they will get the backing they want.
Yes, speaking about more backing, Egypt and Sudan said that they would go to the UN Security Council to find a solution if none is reached. What power does the Security Council have to push for a solution, Doctor?
Maybe they will not have, I mean, forget sanctions, because they can impose sanctions, of course, but they can issue maybe a declaration or a decree or whatever, but it is not the importance of the action itself. But the real importance is that the world community is taking an action in a certain direction. And this is the idea. It's not a matter of imposing things over Ethiopia, more like the whole world agrees to the settlement in a just way, agrees to the allocation of water and the water interests of the countries in the Nile has to be respected and has to be honored. So this is the importance. It means that the whole world is behind the just decision of division of water as agreed previously by everybody.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Raouf Gaafar, our political analyst and our guest for this afternoon. Thank you very much, sir, for your insight on this edition of Africa Today. And this brings us to the end of today's episode. You're in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.